Hey everybody, happy Thursday afternoon tutorial stream. I am so incredibly happy to be back with you all after such an unexpectedly long time away. My vacation to Houston was delightful. It was nice to get away for a few days, though I did miss each and every one of you. And then I get back to work yesterday and I'm super excited about getting back to streaming, and we had no internet and no phones. The wind, we've been having high winds here in Dallas, and it totally knocked the line down from the pole. So of course I go out back, I'm like, I'm gonna fix this myself if I can, and I look and I'm like, no, maybe not. Maybe shinning up the power pole, not the best idea. But unfortunately they were not able to get a tech out until this morning. But he came, he saw, he fixed, and here we are. So today's project is a pretty simple one. It's a fiber crafting one. It's actually a knot that's used a lot in paracord jewelry. This is the cat's paw knot, and it's a really fun knot for when you are when you're using a big, goodness, there we go, when you're using a big chunky pendant like this. Wow, you go away for 5 days and all of your streaming stuff just like falls apart. I blame you anyway. I bet you did. There we go. That's a little bit better lighting. Yeah, so it's a fun knot if you're just putting a big chunky piece onto a cord. It gives you just a little bit more interest right in the front than you would have if you just did a simple lark's head. And this is actually a variation on a lark's head. It's just a little bit fancier version thereof. And a lark's head is actually a knot that most of us know how to do. Most of us just don't know what it's called. So when I do the initial lark's head, you're gonna probably be like, oh hey, I know how to do that. I've been doing that since I was a kid with my hair ties and whatnot. So let's talk tools and supplies for this afternoon's tutorial. You're going to need some kind of a pendant. If you're using a thicker leather cord, I find something that has a little bit of weight to it is going to work better. This also looks really spectacular with anything that's like a carved jade piece, because that's got the weight and that's also got kind of the intricacy where this is a really nice balance to it. You just need to make sure that whatever your pendant is, you're going to be able to put two pieces of your leather either through the middle of it, which obviously that's not a problem with a big loop like this, but if you're doing something like a carved pendant, you need to make sure that whatever receptacle it has for cord is big enough for two thicknesses of whichever cord you're using. You're going to need some cord, and I find that this does look better in a thicker cord rather than a thinner cord. Now I used a really thick cord on my sample. I used a 4mm kind of rawhide leather cord. For my piece today, I'm going to use something else a little bit daintier. I've got a 3mm, a little bit more finished chocolate brown leather cord. You're going to need, in order to finish off your piece, unless you're going to make it long enough to go over your head, you're going to need two of these guys. These are called cord ends, and I'm going to use two bronze cord ends in my 3mm size. And then this is one of my favorite tricks when I'm either feeling lazy or feeling in a hurry, or feeling like I don't have any jump rings on hand, is hi Brenda, hi Lori, hi Amy, I missed you all too. I would say if you're gonna put a dead weight toad onto your necklace, you just need to make sure it's got a hole big enough to accommodate two thicknesses of your cord. So however you're gonna accomplish that, I don't want to know. But this is one of my favorite tricks. Like I said, when I'm feeling lazy, in a hurry, or just out of jump rings, is to take an S-hook clasp. And so instead of using jump rings to attach like a lobster claw or a toggle to my cord ends, I'm just going to take an S-hook clasp and literally attach it to one cord end, and then the receptacle is going to be the other cord end. It's one of my favorite easy endings for a leather necklace. So we're going to start with a length of our cord, and how much cord we use is going to depend on, of course, how long we want our necklace to be. I'm thinking this is not, the thicker cords don't do well at the longer length unless you've got like 5 dead weighted toads on them. For just a single pendant, something more in the 18 to 20 inch range is going to work best. You are going to need extra cord for your actual knot. So if I'm on a 20 inch necklace, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut myself just to be safe, I'm going to cut myself 24 to 26 inches of cord. Now, you know what would make that really easy is my ruler. Measuring devices is importante. So I'm going to go with 26 inches because, as you all know, I'm paranoid about running out of cord. Also, little trick, because I didn't talk about tools, you're going to need, basically to do this, all you really need is some kind of cutting device. And I will tell you, when you're using a thicker leather cord like this, a wire cutter is really awesome at cutting it way easier typically than a scissors. And then you're going to need either a round nose or a chain nose pliers for squashing your cord ends. So I'm going to take that cord and I'm just going to snip it with my wire cutter. My extra to the side. And then I'm going to take my cord and I'm going to fold it in half. So I'm going to line up the ends like so. Hold them firmly, and then come to my middle where I should have a loop. Now I'm going to take my loop and yes. So decide, I always have to double check that, sorry y'all. Decide what's going to be the front of your pendant. So this is actually, this was cut from an old candle holder. So I think I like the concave side being my front. So you're going to take this loop and you're going to insert it front to back in your pendant, okay, through your pendant, through the holes, or a giant hole in the middle, whatever you have, and then you're going to reach through, grab the two ends of your cord, and pull them through like so. So this is a lark's head knot, like I said. This is the knot that almost everybody knows how to do. You just don't know what it's called. So if I were to tighten it down, it would just look like that. And that's probably a pretty familiar thing for most of you all out there. Repeat that, please. Candle holder. Yes, this was, so I used to have a vendor who specialized in slicing up glass things, like bottles and whatnot. So my mom had some old votive holders that were, you know, basically just cup shaped things. And so she sent them to the vendor and they literally sliced them, you know, like you would slice a loaf of bread, and then tumbled them off so that they were all nice and smooth. So yes, this is actually an upcycled, recycled, different cycled, repurposed. There we go. That's the word I was looking for, candle holder. Okay, so this is your lark's head. Now, what I did notice when I was doing my sample here is this knot is a little difficult to tighten. It for some reason it kind of breaks my brain a little bit when it comes to feeding the cords through to get it nice and tight. And so what I found is starting with the knot, the lark's head part of the knot fairly snug against my pendant is going to make everything a little bit easier. So now that I've made my lark's head, I want to make sure that these two cords right here stay parallel to each other. I'm going to take each cord, I'm going to take the end of the cord and I'm going to thread it back down through the lark's head on the outside of itself. Okay, so what I've done is this cord has gone up and then back down through the lark's head. So now I've got three cords that are parallel to each other. I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. I'm just going to take that end and I'm going to thread it down through my lark's head like so. So now what I have is this. So I've got what looks kind of like a little heart on top, and on the bottom I've got four cords that are basically parallel. I mean, they're not completely parallel, but they're, you know, if I mess with them enough, they would be. Then I'm going to take these little loops of my heart and again I'm going to pull them down as tight as I can. I want to, of course, leave myself enough room because I'm going to have to get my cord back up through those. So don't pull them completely down, and of course if you pull them too much they're going to pop right through, your whole knot's going to come apart and then you're going to be stuck starting over. But pull them down nice and tight because once again it's just going to make the finishing of your knot that much easier. So now instead of a heart, what I have here, interestingly enough, kind of looks like a little toad. See the little toady eyes? Little froggy eyes? Yes. So now I'm going to take my cords and I'm going to start with the one on the right because I'm right-handed, so that tends to be my default. I'm going to take the end of that cord and I'm going to cross it over this center and then put it again front to back through this loop. Now this is where you got to make sure that everything stays parallel, and you have to make sure to hold this, because what's going to happen if you just put this through before you put the other cord through as well and start pulling it is this one's going to come out. So I'm just going to pull that through. So it's going to make, see, kind of the first part of an X going across there. Then I'm going to take the other cord. I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to put that through my other little, there we go, toad eye loop. And I'm going to pull that through. And that gives me my basic. That gives me my basic knot. Now it's just about tightening it, because I don't necessarily like this kind of splayed out thing. So that's going to just be about tightening this knot down so that it's cinched really tightly against my pendant. And sorry, I should have picked a lighter color of cord. I feel like there's like not enough light in the world to show this properly, but there we go. So now we're going to start tightening down. So when I'm tightening knots down, concentration is my key thing, because if I let my mind wander or I get distracted, I forget what cord I'm pulling and what direction I'm going, and then 9 times out of 10 I'll wind up starting again and untightening when I just tightened, which is frustrating to say the least. So I'm going to pick a cord, and alright, I'm going to pick this cord here. So what I want to do is I want to snug that up and bring this knot closer to my pendant. So that means I'm going to need to pull up, and then this cord feeds through here. Then that'll allow me to tighten this one, and then around and through, and I'm going to pull it out here. And this is another reason why you want to have some extra, is because you're usually going to wind up pulling more out of one side of your knot than the other side of your knot, and it's nice to not have to short your necklace when you do that. Okay, so here we go. So pull first on this cord going through here, and that should tighten down 1/2 of my lark's head knot. So see how much I've pulled out of that? Now I'm gonna push that through and tighten down the other side of my lark's head knot. Now this is a little trick. If you're having trouble seeing where the cord's coming out, just give it a little push and that'll tell you. So then we're going to pull that. Now I need to feed this through, which is this cord, sorry, this cord right here. And then I need to pull that through there. But see, this is where I say this knot breaks my brain, because of course we have a problem here. Alright, this didn't get fed all the way through. That's going to come from the other side. So this is just going to go down a bit and get pulled, and then this gets pulled from this end. And that is nicer looking because it's not doing that splayed out thing quite as much. So you can just pull everything down nice and tight, and that is your cat's paw, or we could possibly rechristen it your toad head knot, just for the Beading Dreams stream. And so you can mess around with that until it is the level of symmetrical that you like. I'm pretty happy with that. So now we're going to go to making our necklace. So I decided I wanted 20 inches. That is going to be 20 inches including my clasp. My clasp, if I drop it on my ruler, is about 1/2 inch, and then I do have to account for the fact that my cord ends also have loops. So we're going to say about 3/4 of an inch, which means that I need about 19¼ inches. I'm just going to knock that down to 19 just because easier math, people. So that means 9½ inches of leather on each side. So I'm not cutting off that much. Like, you would think 26 inches for a 20-inch necklace would be a stupidly large amount, but I'm actually only wasting about 2¾ to 3 inches on the end. And notice how my ends are not even. Once again, that's because, you know, almost invariably you will pull out more tension from one side of the knot than the other. So it's good to give yourself a little bit of extra. Now, if you're not familiar with cord ends, especially these tubular cord ends, they're one of the easiest ways to finish a leather piece. They do come in different sizes to accommodate different sizes of leather. So this is a 3mm leather. I've got a 3mm cord end. A tight fit on these is good. It looks a little bit neater. If you look at my sample, I didn't have 4mm cord ends, so I had to do 5mm instead, and it looks a little sloppy, in my opinion. So I think it's always a neater and cleaner look if you can get cord ends like so that really fit perfectly on your leather. So now I'm going to take and I'm going to crimp down my cord end. So when you're crimping a cord end like this, you only crimp the middle part. Okay, you're not going to mash the whole thing flat. You're just going to crimp the middle. And actually the easiest tool to do that with is your round nose pliers. Now typically I will say your chain nose or your grabbing, holding, and squashing pliers, but in this case it's really a lot easier with your round nose to get in there and then just compress that down nice and tight. And you really want to make sure that you give that a good squeeze because that's what's holding your leather. And you do want to do a tug test on it. Mine's not moving, so that means I did it right. Do the same on the other side. And sometimes you kind of have to wiggle your cord in there if it's a really tight fit. Again, tight fit is good. Press that down, like so. Tug test. Awesome, we're good to go. So at this point, if you wanted to, you could definitely use jump rings or even wire wraps to attach onto your cord ends, the clasp of your choice. So lobster claw, toggle, whatever you want. But like I said, I'm going to show you my favorite cheater trick for leather clasps is to take a nice S-hook clasp and just drop that onto the end of your cord end and then bend that one side closed. You can use your round nose or your chain nose for this and just squeeze that completely closed. And sometimes you even have to kind of pop it behind and bring it back up because what you want is just like when you're closing a jump ring, you don't want there. So if you bring it behind a little like that, then you can just kind of bump it forward, and what you want is you don't want any space in there, right? You want it completely closed. And then the other side you're going to leave slightly open, and that's going to just hook through your other cord end. Now, if you're dealing with anyone who has dexterity issues, you know, using this tiny little receptacle may not be the best idea, so you can always attach a larger soldered ring using a jump ring to that. But once again, literally the easiest way to finish the back of a leather piece. 2 cord ends and an S-hook. And that, peoples, is it. Yes, I was gone for so long and you got me for all of 20 minutes this afternoon for our cat's paw knot, but not to worry. Now that we have functional internet, again, we'll be back on this channel, twitch.tv/beading dream this evening with our Torch Thursday class. Fire! Fire! Yay! And that's going to be our double bezel cuff bracelet. Oh my gosh, Lori, I'm so sorry. Lori is about to shovel snow. We here in the, let's see, we had a cold snap. It's 55 degrees here in Dallas. Yeah, I know that's got no truck with the Canadians, but yeah, so we'll be back on this channel, twitch.tv/beading dream tonight at 6 p.m. with our Torch Thursday class, our double bezel cuff bracelet. So we will look forward to seeing each and every one of you then. Have a wonderful and fabulous Thursday. It's Thursday. Have a wonderful and fabulous Thursday afternoon, and we will see you. Yay! We get an in-person Cindy soon. That's very exciting. And we'll see y'all back on this channel, twitch.tv/beading dream tonight at 6.